Hey, Pastor Josh, we're reading Genesis chapter 30, verses 35 through 43 today. Remember, Jacob and Laban have made an agreement with each other that Jacob would receive all the striped, all the spotted, all the speckled lambs. Those would be Jacob, and any of the flock that would make spotted, striped, or speckled sheep, that would be his. All of the rest would be Laban's. So that was the agreement. Jacob would go through and get those lambs and get those sheep, and then he would go off and breed them. And if there were any that were not speckled or spotted, then that would become Laban's. And so Laban says, yes, we'll do that. But right before Jacob goes off on his own, here's what Laban does. Remember, Laban's a trickster himself. But that day, Laban removed the male goats that were striped and spotted, and all the female goats that were speckled and spotted, every one that had white on it, and every lamb that was black, and put them in charge of his sons. So he took not only the ones that were his, the pure white, the pure black, but he also took all the speckled. So he took all the ones that were supposed to be Jacob's, and he takes them to himself. And then he set a distance of 3 days' journey between himself and Jacob pastured the rest of Laban's flock. And so here Laban says, yeah, sure, you can have all the spotted, the striped, and the speckled sheep. And then he goes and takes them before Jacob goes through and gets his own. And so again, Laban is being a trickster here. What we're going to find out in the next chapter is that Laban actually then changes 10 times, perhaps that's a figurative number, but many times, 10 times, Laban will change the agreement. So we don't know the particularities of it. Perhaps one day he'll say, hey, you can have all the striped ones. And then another day he says, okay, no, because whenever he says it's the striped ones, then they all start being striped. The lambs are born striped. And he says, no, okay, well, you don't get the striped one, you get the spotted ones. And then all of a sudden, all of the new lambs are spotted. And so, no, you get all the black ones. And then all of a sudden, all of them will be black. He changes that 10 different times. And so Laban is trying to deceive Jacob, but it is not working one bit. In fact, every time he changes it, the Lord prospers Jacob. That's what's going to happen in this situation too. Even though Jacob does not start with any spotted, any speckled, any striped, he will begin producing spotted, speckled, and striped because the Lord is blessing him. Not, well, let's get into it. Let's see what Jacob actually does. So verse 37, then Jacob took fresh sticks of poplar and almond and plane trees and peeled white streaks in them, exposing the white of the sticks. He set the sticks that he had peeled in front of the flocks in the troughs, that is, in the watering places where the flocks came to drink. So he takes these sticks, he peels stripes down in the middle of them, which would be white stripes, and depending on the tree, it would be different colored. Poplar, almond, plane trees would be different. We don't know exactly what this plane tree is, but we know what a poplar and an almond is, but be different color bark or whatever, and they would put it in the water. So the whole idea is that the animals would come, they would drink from the watering trough or wherever it is. They would come to get water. They would see the sticks, and there was this idea that they would look at the sticks and that they would then produce whatever they were looking at, or others say that there would be some aroma that would then encourage the animals to reproduce there in the watering trough. And since they bred when they came to drink, so Jacob's thinking, okay, we need to put this at the place that they are most likely to reproduce. The flocks bred in front of the sticks, and so the flocks brought forth striped, speckled, and spotted. So let's go up here just for a second in seeing what he did. He peeled white streaks in them. So there's really two views about this. Is Jacob practicing some sort of ancient superstition, or is he just doing what like normal breeders would do? So I have it as a purple. Is that an example to follow, or is that an example not to follow? So first thing, we need to realize that everything we do, all the blessings that come, any successes that we have, ultimately the credit goes to who? Goes to God. It doesn't come. It doesn't go to our strategy. It doesn't come to our execution. It doesn't come to our perseverance. Now, all of those things obviously play a part in it, but we never say, oh man, I just had a great strategy, or I executed that exactly well, or I persevered. We never give ourselves credit. Ultimately, we realize any success ultimately comes from the Lord. So we don't want to be taking credit for ourselves. But Jacob is doing this interesting thing that we are totally unfamiliar with, and we would even call superstition. He's cutting it down in the middle. So folks would say that he is doing what normal breeders would do, and while they didn't understand that it didn't help, they thought it did, and so he was doing it to the best of his ability. At the end of the day, it was the Lord that did it. So saying that there was no expressly wrong thing. Others will say, no, this was an overtly even a divination type method, superstitious method that comes about in that he would actually be sinning in this way, in doing this, and trying to, again, grasp for himself the things that the Lord has already given. Now, what we will find as we finish out this chapter and go to the next, the text, Moses makes it expressly clear that it's the Lord that is taking care of Jacob. No matter what kind of schemes or how hard he's working, at the end of the day, it's the Lord that is giving it to him. So I think we need to work hard in our jobs, whatever we do, in our homes. We need to take care of the things as best we can, and then we need to even realize that sometimes our strategies, even the way that we think the world operates, may not be exactly how it really operates. And at the end of the day, we trust the Lord. We obey Him. We do the best we can, and we ultimately attribute our success to Him. That's the main thing I want you to get from this reading. We'll finish out on what happens. So in Jacob separated the lambs and set the faces of the flock toward the stripe and all the black in the flock of Laban. So now he's facing them each other and actually trying to do some selective breeding here, trying to make sure that, okay, we have spotted ones breeding with spotted and striped with striped. And so he put his own droves apart and did not put them with Laban's flock. So once we started having the striped and the speckled, he's making sure they're breeding with each other, which would, at least in our mind anyway, and in theirs as well, produce more striped and speckled. Whenever the stronger of the flock were breeding, now here's where Jacob gets a little deceptive himself, mischievous. Whenever the stronger of the flock were breeding, Jacob would lay the sticks in the troughs before the eyes of the flock, that they might breed among the sticks. But for the feebler of the flock, he would lay them there. So the feebler would be Laban's and the stronger Jacob's. So he's making sure if they're weak, if they're not the best, he doesn't put those sticks there so that they would be the color that Laban needed. And if the stronger ones were there, he'd put the sticks there so that the stronger lambs and sheep would be his. And then thus the man increased greatly and had large flocks, female servants, male servants, and camels and donkeys. Now, does not say at this point that the Lord is the one that is doing this for him. We will see that. Jacob will say it himself. Moses will make it clear as he is writing this that it is ultimately for the Lord. The Lord is intervening through these means. Weird means to us, sticks, striped sticks. But in the same way, God is intervening in our lives that would probably seem weird to people that lived 2,000 years ago from us. Things that we're involved in, things that we do, strategies we have, tools that we use, they would think are ultimately weird. And even people that are going to live 500 years in the future of us will look back at us and say, why do they think the way they thought? Why do they do what they do? But in the end of the day, any success ultimately comes from the Lord, and we should give Him the glory and the honor that is due His name. Pray that has been a blessing to you all. I'll see you in the next video.